You can be heard, Francis, don't speak at all.
Okay, good evening, Hadley Wood, and welcome back to HWJC Live. Very honoured and privileged to have with us tonight Sandy Lester, one of the founding fathers of this community, and someone who has incredible respect, I think, from many members of this, from the entire community. So, Sandy, thank you so much for coming on, and hope you are doing well. How are you doing, Sandy?
We're managing very nicely, thank you.
Managing well, good. It's been lovely seeing you on all the virtual events that we've been doing, and you've been an avid supporter, so thank you.
Well, I enjoy it.
Good. So, Sandy, I'm going to do something slightly different. Usually I start from people, from the very beginning, talking about their time growing up and what life was like then. I think we'll come to that soon, but what I think would be really interesting to hear would be your involvement with Hadley Wood Jewish community and in setting up the community. Why were you so passionate about setting up a community over here?
Well, I've been a member. Excuse me. I've been a member of the Southgate and Cockfosters Shul since 1960.
Wow.
And then we moved here. Of course, it's a bit difficult to get there from here on the Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Pack was instrumental in setting up the shul because he didn't want to schlep all that way. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we started off originally on a Friday night service only at Tony and Bonnie Brooks's house, and then we moved to Peter Taylor's house, which was opposite, and
Mm-hmm.
only on Friday nights once a month.
Right.
And I do remember Alan Date saying he was very upset because he moved from Barnet to join our shul and found it was only once on a Friday night. So anyway, we rectified that. And then we moved to the Pack's house, which proved very, very popular, very, very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And had a very nice eating Shabbat there. And that's how it all started then.
And Sandy, why were you so involved? What motivated you to get so involved with setting up the shul?
Well, I'd say the fact because we were in the community, and then I actually found the property where you are now, the shul, made them an offer, and they accepted it. In today's price, it's very reasonable, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got a very good friendly bank manager.
Mm-hmm.
We negotiated the full money, 1% over base for 15 years, which was very good. It worked out very good in the end. 1% over.
Mm-hmm.
In those days, interest rates were different. And after that, we obviously never had planning permission. It was very difficult. Then I had meetings with the environmental health officer and the planning people, and I used to move the stuff from the chairs into the garage when they visited, and we came to an arrangement that we could have a service every Shabbat for 2 hours for 12 people. Unfortunately, I can't count. So we managed.
Yeah.
And then after it would all go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you manage to? Let's go all the way back now. When you were growing up, Sandy, did you have an opportunity to be involved with a community when you were growing up? It was very different back then.
It was difficult. We were evacuated, and it was all completely different in war days.
Right. So was this something which you always felt like you maybe were missing?
Well, I enjoyed it, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. But I was there. I spent 10 years, every 5 days a week, and we never had anyone to do the laning very often. So I would make the beds, do everything, ready for the visiting rabbi, and he would lay. And then I made one mistake once when I didn't turn the fridge off. And the poor rabbi put this food in the fridge, but then he couldn't open it because the light would come on.
Oh no!
Right, that was one mistake. That's the only.
Not the most terrible mistake to happen. As mistakes go, I think that's a pretty good one to happen. Not for the rabbi though, but for yourself. Sandy, you know what I notice as a rabbi is that there seems to be a lot more passion and commitment for community and sort of shul in the, I guess, more senior, older generations than there are in the younger generations. And I'm wondering if you would have some ideas to why that might be.
Well, not really, because we're a community. Not only a community, we are family. So
yeah,
we'd all meet together on Shabbats, and with the service and the kiddush. It was all just lovely. And then we had lots of other things going on as well.
Good. Sandy, can you tell us a bit about growing up? What was growing up like for you? Where did you grow up, and what was that like?
That's another story. I was born in Stepney, just before the war years. I was then evacuated when I was 5 years old, to a place in Bournemouth, which was a Catholic school, by the way. They were quite from there. And then after that, I came back, and then I went with my sister, and we were evacuated to the Rhondda Valley in Wales, where we were there for many years. And they were very, very good. She was very kind. I actually won a prize for the best attendance in Sunday school.
Wow.
And one day because we had a lovely, lovely, beautiful family, a couple, very poor, very, very lovely. But they used to take me to chapel. We call it chapel. And I used to go every day to chapel in the morning, Sunday school in the afternoon, and chapel at night. And one day I was in the chapel, and the ministers turned around and he said, "And today we have a Jew in our presence." I said, "Oh, that's good." And I turned round because I realised it was me. But
wow.
So we grew up there, evacuated, and then we moved to. After that, my mother came, and we took my sister and myself, and we went to near Haverfordwest in Pembrokeshire, and we stayed there till nearly the end of the war.
Wow.
Came back to London, lived in Stoke Newington. We lived in Vistria Park, which is overlooking the Abney Cemetery. So we had an open view from where we lived, and we had 2 rooms and a scullery, and that's how we were brought up. I went to Shackle Lane, shul there in Stoke Newington. I taught myself my bar mitzvah because we never had any money for a teacher in those days. And
how did you teach yourself bar mitzvah? How did you do that?
Well, I was in the choir, so that helped a lot.
And you could read Hebrew, presumably.
Yes, not fluently, but I could manage.
Where did you learn to read Hebrew?
Well, we went to Cheder initially, and in Rampart Grove in Stamford Hill, which wasn't very good, but we didn't have very good teachers, I'm afraid.
You did it all yourself. So Sandy, you then sort of seemed to make your own path in life. What happened? You sort of went on your own business venture. How did that happen? And what?
Before that, I used to work for a company called, when I left school, called LEP Transport, and I joined in September, and I went to ask them if I could have the Yontovs off and work the extra time, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know you were Jewish. We wouldn't have employed you."
Oh, wow.
So I didn't stay there very long. And I left there and I worked in the markets. And then I learned to sell, because if you can sell in the markets, you can sell anywhere. That I joined the army, not voluntary, I might say. And I spent 2 years in the army. I took examinations. I asked to go abroad, so they sent me to the Isle of Sheppey, which, as you know, is near Southend. I asked to go to be I wanted to be an MT, a driver, so they put me in the office, and then I took examinations, and I ended up with my own office and working for the adjutant, which was very, very good in my own billet. I came out of the army and met my lovely wife Frances, and when she was 19, and we got married when we were 21, and then off we went.
Wow.
I then started to work as a credit draper, which was I enjoyed very much, enjoyed the people, and managed to get a warehouse. Well, no, it was a derelict building, and I got a bank loan for £3,000 and converted it into a warehouse and operated from there. And from then onwards, I got a very good Greek connection, who were very, very hospitable people, who I then learned to speak Greek to be able to sell to them, and the business grew from there.
Amazing. And what motivated you to keep on going throughout this? Because you completely were on your own, weren't you? I don't think you had any support whatsoever.
No, when I was in the credit draper, then I did have some of the family working with me, which was good. And then that went on. And in 1972, by coincidence, I bought a house in Sanford Hill near Springfield Park, and it was called Springfield the house. So I then started to convert it into bedsit, and I was doing that. The council came along and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm making bedsits. You know, everybody wants bedsit, so we can't do that. It's got to be flats, and you can have 3 flats for the house." So I said, but originally it was a hotel. So I said, "All right, fine, I'll turn it back into a hotel." And I turned it back into a hotel, and it was very, very successful. And then that grew, and I then went to Manor House. I bought another leasehold building there, and I named it Spring Manor. And I went round the corner, and I bought a derelict house there, and that became a hotel. And I called that Spring Park Hotel because it faced the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I went round the corner to Queen's Drive, and then we had another one there, another house, Spring Lodge. Then I went to Islington, to Spring Grange, and we were running out with the name of Springs.
I was going to say, there's a lot of springs.
And then I obtained I had a very, very good bank manager, very wonderful relationship. But obviously, my house was the security, and every property I bought was the security for the next one. So we were hopped up the whole time. Then I bought Ragnar Hall Hotel, which is a 52-bedroom hotel, which is converted that into en-suites, and that grew. And then from there we expanded to Reading, to the Ship Hotel in Reading, which we expanded that one. And then we had a beautiful country house called Roxton House Hotel,
Right,
near Banbury. Very lovely, but never made any money. But it had a lovely restaurant. And it was all very, very nice.
so it sounds like you had a lot of hotels over there. You basically just landed in the hotel business. It was never something you really planned for.
By coincidence. What they call muzzle.
Yeah, muzzle. And I wanted to ask you as well, I guess we've heard some sort of about how your business started. We spoke a bit about community. I was speaking to Simon before, and he was talking about the fact that you've always felt very strongly about having family in the business. Is that something which you always felt really strongly about including family in the business?
When I started the credit drapery business, I had my father-in-law. He came to help me. I couldn't get rid of him. He was there for 12 years. And he'd already retired. Then I had my brother-in-law. I had my brother. I had my uncle. I had my aunt. So we had a lovely family business.
Yeah. People often talk about not mixing family and business, but it sounds like for you, that was not an issue.
Not at all. Not at all. It was lovely.
Good.
And I had a couple of uncles. And my father.
So, sorry?
And my father.
And your father as well. Wow, amazing. So you went from just building yourself up to being able to support not just yourself, but so many family members. Unbelievable. What have you learnt along the way, Sandy? What are things that you've learnt through your experiences?
Well, when you're working, you're working not to make money. You're working because it's a commitment. With the commitment comes the profit. So that's what I've my policy anyway.
Commitment.
Yeah.
What do you, when you look at the younger generation, I always like asking questions to people who are older and wiser than myself. What do you think they need to know more about? What do you think they perhaps are lacking that you had?
Well, they weren't hungry like we were initially. You see, that's what keeps you going. But it's a different world today with technology. We never had anything like that at all. You know, I used to work till 11, 12 o'clock at night through the week, 4 or 5 nights a week. Then I changed to hotel, and it was a 24-hour day. That was then. So you don't get that today, you know, with young people.
And you think that technology has made things better or worse?
Oh, certainly made it better. I mean, look at now. We're talking now. We could never have done that years ago.
I asked you this question earlier, but I'm going to ask it again because I want to just get more clarity about it. What is so important to you about community? Why is community so important?
Well, particularly in Hadley Wood, we are, as I say, a family, and you know, we share simchas and we share the bad times as well. So that's important to me. I mean, it was what, some 23 years ago, it's when we started the shul initially, and we've grown and grown and grown. It's people wouldn't realise what had happened.
So for you, the importance of community is the fact that we are all a family, that we are all supportive of one another.
Definitely.
And that's the main. Are there any other elements of community that you feel strongly about?
Well, the fact is that we help each other when we can, when it's necessary. That's always been the way, anyway. And we used to have. I was on the committee for many years with the shul, and we'd have a meeting every week, or every month rather, for about 12 people in different houses, and we would share the things and grow from there.
Wow, amazing! I just wanted to take a pause over here and remind people that are watching that if you had any questions you wanted to ask Sandy, then please do put them in the comments box in YouTube, or write in the comments in Facebook as well. If you're watching from there, I think there's lots of different things we could possibly ask Sandy over here. But if you could also ask your questions as well, that would be really good. We can have like a community discussion over here, not just me asking the questions. Sandy, how have you seen the community change over the 23 years that you've been watching us?
I wouldn't say it changed, but some have passed away, obviously. It happens. We've got a lot of new members now, which I don't really know so much. But initially, I knew everybody. And I know when we did the development, I was instrumental in the show. You wouldn't recognise it now, but it was a house, and there was an integral garage. So I took the garage, not physically, but I took the garage away, had organised that, and squared the shul off, made it look like a proper shul, whereas we were before. And in doing that, so we had to live somewhere. So we moved to where my France and I, we had a lovely barn, so we turned that into a shul. And we had lovely services there. Matter of fact, before we moved back to the shul, when it was all developed, we had 53 people in the shul, which was tremendous. We had lovely times. Everybody enjoyed it. We had Kiddush in the garden afterwards, and it was great. And
looking back at your time with the shul and beyond that as well, what are you most proud of when you look back at the life that you've lived? What makes you most proud?
Well, I have a lovely family. I have 8 lovely grandchildren. I have 3 lovely children, all lovely partners, and that's what I really think the best thing. I mean, the material things I've done very well. You know, I created when I retired. I created a very big pension fund, which grew and grew, developed that as well. So I'm growing the whole time like that. Afterwards, in 2008, I bought when it was a bad time. I bought a lot of, with the help of my friendly bank manager, a lot of buy-to-let properties, which I still run now and still look after. And the clients, I've got some in Edgware, I've got some mostly round in near the location. And all the clients, they never want to move unless they have family grows, and they just stay. So it's all very, very interesting.
I always find it amazing that when you ask people, no matter how successful they've been in business or whatever it is in life, you ask them the question of what are they most proud of? More often than not, they'll talk about family. They'll talk about those things rather than their business successes. It's really interesting to hear that. I wanted to ask you as well, Sandy. This is something I asked your son, Simon, when he was the very first interview I did over here at Hadley Wood, and he likes to ask people about their core values. I wanted to ask you, Sandy, what your core values are. What are the things which you feel most strongly about in life?
Me.
I did hear Sandy in the back. I did hear Francis in the background saying me. So in addition to Francis,
the family is the most important thing for me. Really, really is, and it's just so wonderful.
How about 3 things? We got Francis, we got family, but 3 things that are your core values. Can you think of something else?
Well, the shul is very, very important to me. Very important. It's just it's very sad that we can't attend for various reasons. But we used to love going to shul. Never missed it at all. Never missed it.
The current pandemic's been very challenging. I think more so for people in your age bracket because they get to see their family it's very difficult for them to see family or to get out. And people have been complaining about how difficult it is. But I was just wondering if there's anything which you've seen or learned from this pandemic. Is there anything you've seen differently as a result of this pandemic? What have you been observing just as, being stuck at home and it being a really difficult time?
Well, the support from everybody is tremendous. Everyone supports everybody. It's really lovely. We get phone calls. Are you all right? Do you need anything? That's very important.
So I guess you're just seeing how kind and generous people are. I must say I've sort of seen that a lot myself as well. This pandemic's really brought out a kindness about people that I guess we always knew was there, but it's really manifested itself into something really amazing. So
yes.
Nice to hear that you've seen that as well. We've got a question here from Steve Pack, Sandy. He wants to know what persuaded you to move to Hadley Wood.
Well, we used to live in Winchmore Hill actually beforehand, and I had an accident, and it gave me a lot of thought. Instead of working and living for today, for tomorrow, I wanted to live for today. So we moved, came round. I didn't know where Hadley Wood was actually, and we came and had a look around. It was very, very nice. And then I found, Francis found this most wonderful property, to us anyway, overlooking the common, with lovely barn and an acre of garden. And it was just that's what made us come to Hadley Wood. We just saw the house and that was it.
I don't blame you.
36 years.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see if you come and check out Hadley Wood, it's a place you fall in love with. It's almost like a love at first sight. It's such a beautiful area. That's probably why lots of people moved here and still do move here. Okay, now we've got a question here which is going all the way back to something you said at the beginning. I actually was going to ask you what it was, then I just assumed that everyone else knew what it was, and I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I didn't. But next time I've learnt my lesson, I should still ask questions, even though I may look like a fool. What is a credit draper, Sandy?
The old-fashioned term is a tallyman. A tallyman. You have a client and you sell them something. Give us an example. You buy a tablecloth for, in those days, 10 shillings or 50 pence. You might sell it for £1, and then you take an instalment of a shilling a week. And in that time, you go around and collect the money, and then you can get to know the people, and then they also get to know you, if they're honest or dishonest, and then it would build up from there. That was a credit draper. So you sold goods on credit.
Okay, fine, interesting. I think you can do that type of thing now. You can cut out the middleman, meaning Amazon and all these companies. You can buy something and pay in installments. It's basically buying something and paying in installments, right?
More or less. Then it would develop into, as you got to know the client, you would sell them carpets and things like that, or made to measure. And
so you built a relationship basically, and then you got them to buy more things.
That's why I went to say I met Greek people. Well, I met one day. I was in Camden Town, and I went to this little cafe to have a cup of tea. It was 7 o'clock before I started the evening run, because I was doing work all day and evening. And there was a Greek lady there, and she said, "What have you got in your van?" And I told her, and I took the thing, and she bought a black cardigan. Well, the Greeks, they wear a lot of black. Once someone has died, they stay in black forever. And
really,
someone else came into the cafe, and they said, "What are you doing?" So can you sell me a shirt? Have you got a heater? And eventually I had 12 customers in that little cafe. So I'd go in, and all the cars would be ready waiting for me and to collect the money. But one day I went there, and the cafe was shut. So I went next door to the watchmaker, who was also a customer of mine then, and he said that she's in hospital. So then I had to go around to all the other people, all the addresses that they used to come to see me. I went to see them. And when I went to their house, they had the same story again. What are you selling? Can you get me a refrigerator? Can you get me an oil heater? And from those 12 customers, I got a lot of customers.
Wow. So you start small and things just grow.
And then eventually I employed 3 Greek collectors as well. So I had my stationery in Greek and everything.
Wow.
And they're wonderful people.
We've got another interesting question come up over here. Look, gosh, lots of questions tonight, which is amazing. I love the fact that people who are watching are asking questions. Please bring them on. Please, if anyone's got anything else to ask, please do ask them as well. Susan Cresswell wants to know, please tell us about your leisure times, opera kaifeng holidays in Israel. I actually don't even understand what that means. Perhaps you do. So what's opera kaifeng holidays?
Well, because Morris, Susan's husband, who was such a lovely person, we went to the opera with him on 2 occasions as well, which was lovely. We used to go to Kaifeng as well, which is, as you know, is a Chinese kosher restaurant.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. And I think I've been going there for about 25 years, actually. And
the Kaifeng.
Yeah, and then over the people there, obviously. So that's they're lovely people. And what was the other question? Part of the question?
Oh, where are we? Holidays in Israel.
Oh, well, that's something else, isn't it? Well, it's another story. In 1975, we hosted a Israeli wounded lieutenant, Yossi Nissen, and he stayed with us for 3 weeks, and he was part of a group. And we took this group round, and I was involved quite a lot in that, in the coach every day to various places. We went to Buckingham Palace and parked in there where the soldiers some of them were very seriously injured, were playing football there. And that's something that I'm right about. And anyway, we were very much involved with this family, and to this day, and we visited them, they visited us, and then our children visited them. Simon stayed with them. So we had a very, very close relationship with another family in Israel. Well, a big family now. And now our families are interacted together. So that's something special for us from Israel.
And you're still in touch with them now?
Yeah, yes. Oh, yeah, yes. So I speak regularly. And matter of fact, we had a widow. And she stayed with us a while. And we kept this same relationship up. And we visited them, the family and the children. And we're all interacted together. So we've got something very special to go to Israel for. Apart from Israel and the cartel.
We have another question over here. Gosh, loads of questions tonight. Amazing. From Gail Laser. Have you ever thought about writing a book about your life?
I did think about it, but I don't have a lot of time for that. and also, I just wonder, would people be interested in it? Because people have got their own lives, and they're not so interested in what I did when I was a kid, when I was evacuated, when I went on my bike to Wales or something like that on my own. They're not really interested in that. They're interested in their own lives.
Well, I'd say now, just in where we are now, this is probably the best time to write a book. People are just ends wits about what to do during the current lockdown. So they may just buy a copy of your book if you can get it printed in time.
Yeah. Well, I am occupied during the day anyway, and I'm these days are very slow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe something to think about. We got a funny question over here. Who is your favorite? I'm assuming this is from your blonde grandchild. Who's your favorite blonde grandchild, Sandy?
We have no favorites. We love them all.
You have no favorites.
We love them all dearly.
Good. Okay, well, I spoke about the things which you look back on and are most proud of. I'm wondering if there's something, if you could go back in time and I guess rewind and do something differently, perhaps in the way that you did it, would there be anything in your life which you think you'd probably do differently than if you had the chance or the opportunity?
Well, I would like to have had a job where I could work normal hours. In the credit draper, you've got to be working during the day, and then you've got to have the evening clients, so you've got to go in the evening. So I spent a lot of time away from my family. I used to come home 12 o'clock at night, which is not very good. I mean, my wife was be on her own. So I would really like a job. If I had my way again, I wouldn't do those hours. Try and find something else without those hours, if possible.
But perhaps though that time working so hard is what really allowed you to develop as well. You spoke before about how us young generation, we never grew up hungry. We never knew what it was like to have to work hard just to put food on the table. It sounds like that experience is what really made you who you are.
Well, you keep going, and you don't stop. But there's a time comes when you should really stop. But you're so much involved that you can't. I mean, I went from a credit draper into the hotel industry. Then you get a call in the morning, oh, no one's here to do the breakfast. And Frances would come down with me sometimes and she'd clean the toilets. Really? Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. I guess when you start off in the hotel industry and no one's there. What about, did you ever work in the kitchens?
I have done. I used to make the breakfasts.
Wow. Good stuff. Yeah, okay. Got one comment here from my wife, Sandy. She's been watching as well. Thank you, Sandy. I really enjoyed hearing about your life, and I am really touched by your humility. I second that, Sandy, as well. Your humility really does shine through. You are proud of what you've managed to achieve, but it doesn't seem like it's got to your head. How do you manage to do that?
Well, you don't really, do you? You do things and you don't think about things like that.
Yeah. So it was not something you had to work on. It's just something that comes naturally to you?
Well, yes, definitely.
Which charities are closest to your heart?
Every charity is good, but one of my ones is the World Jewish Relief, where Francis and I have been on 2 occasions and seen these poor people, the Russian in the Ukraine, and we try to help where we can. Matter of fact, there's a story there that I had this lovely sheepskin coat, beautiful coat, and hat to match, and we went there, and it was so cold. And when I left, I took my coat off and I gave it to someone for them to keep. It was very expensive, actually.
Yeah,
And I had an email back with a picture of him cuddling in his coat saying,
wow.
I didn't think anybody loved me. So
Wow.
you do things like that. And then Bet Lechem is another wonderful thing. We've been to Bet Lechem in Tel Aviv and seen the center there. And we had, in my barn, we had a meeting with one of the, I forgot his name now, but he was he won the Olympics for tennis. And the Israeli flag went up, and we were all touched when we saw the video of it. And we had in my barn, we had 2 meetings with Bet Lechem. So that's another wonderful charity to support. But also Jewish Care. There's so many wonderful ones you can. And Megan David Adom is another one which I really support. But they're all wonderful.
People
and everything. There's so many, and you do what you can.
I guess if you have the attitude that you have, where you just care about everyone, then all charities are the same in a way. It's just an opportunity to give to people who are in need.
Well, it's very, very important. I mean, because non-Jewish charities are wonderful, but I'm afraid I don't really support them because nobody will look after us other than ourselves. Whereas there's 69 million people, they can do that. But I believe in looking after the Jewish charities. Maybe it's wrong. I mean, cancer research and all the rest of it, Francis does. They're very, very wonderful people. But there's so many Jewish charities that need us.
Funny, I actually spoke about this in my Ethics of the Fathers class the other week, last week, where we spoke about it says, Im ein ani li mili, if I'm not for myself, who is for me? If I don't take responsibility for myself, who is for me? And I spoke about the fact the same is true about the Jewish people as a whole. If we don't take responsibility for ourselves, then no one else is really going to do it for us. Throughout history, as you were saying, Sandy, we really need to look after ourselves, because if we don't, unfortunately, the world doesn't really tend to do it for us. Steve wants to know, where did you meet Francis?
Well, I came out of the army, and we went to a friend's house, a very old friend, and I took another girlfriend with me, actually. And I had a very old taxi cab, a 1932 taxi cab. That's what I used to travel around in. I used to have to wind it up sometimes to start it. And anyway, I went to this party, and Francis was there with another young man, and I was with someone else. Anyway, I took her home with her young man, Jerry, who was a very old friend of ours. And then after that, I made a date, and we went to Woburn House where they used to have all the dances, Jewish dances. I used to have to go late because I used to work till 10 o'clock at least. So I'd meet her then. But
that's a late date. That's a really late date, Sandy. 10 o'clock. Wow.
Well, but I had work to do beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. So you went on these dances.
We met, and we phoned 2-3 hours a day, like young couples do in our day, and then we are, and we got.
Wow.
I said to her, I really don't want to I'm not in a position to get engaged or married, so maybe in 5 years we can get engaged. And she said, yes, okay. 2 years later, we were married.
Yeah, she knew. She was clever, Francis. She probably knew that was going to happen.
True story.
Yeah, exactly. Francis, did you know that was going to happen?
I thought about it. I thought it probably would. I didn't think I could wait 5 years.
Yeah, but chatting to Sandy, it sounds like 5 years might have been worth the wait. What do you reckon?
Well, she was married when she was 21, and I was 22, so 22 and a half.
Mm-hmm. But you were working long hours, you know, back in the day. You got
That-
married, you probably rarely see each other.
Yeah. That was a sad thing, as I said, mentioned, particularly when the children came along, because I'd go out in the morning and come home at night, and I wouldn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my biggest upsets and mistakes. But I couldn't help it.
It's funny because, you know, you're not complaining, but you're looking back and thinking, wow, I wish I would have been able to spend more time with my family. But, you know, today people are thinking the exact opposite. They're thinking, how could I get away from my family? I've been stuck at home, locked with my wife and my kids, and I'm just seeing them all day, every day. It's quite nice to hear from someone that actually, you know, when we move on in life and we look back, those are the times we really relish, and those are the times we really appreciate, the time we were able to spend with our families.
Well, we've been married nearly 63 years, and we're still talking now, or I'm talking. And we get on very well during the day. When we make it up for last time.
Yeah. Sandy, does love grow as the years go by?
Oh, definitely. It gets stronger. And you get to know each other.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll find out.
I'll find out. Oh, it's nice to know that there's opportunity for love to just keep on growing, even well into one's, you know, older years, 70s, 80s, 90s. That's a sign of a healthy, good relationship over there. You have to teach us. So, what are the secrets then of a good marriage, Sandy?
What's the good marriage?
Of a good marriage, what are the secrets?
Well, oh yes, of course it is. Chicken soup. We used to have the three C's. I think I could probably get it wrong. Cuddles, chicken soup, and I think there's another one. Compromise.
Cuddles, chicken soup, and compromise. So, if you're a vegetarian, how does that work? What do you do about the second C?
Well, you can, that doesn't count. I'm not considering vegetarians at this conversation.
So non-vegetarians.
Going back to what I would like to mention, it's Holocaust Day, as you know, this week. Where are we? So yes, this week.
Sunday, yeah.
And in the past, I always used to support Enfield Council. Enfield Council have been wonderful. They used to provide facilities, plays, the Holocaust. We used to have 2 or 3 rabbis come.
Oops. I think we've lost Sandy over there. Let's see if we can get Sandy back. If not, then I'm afraid you're stuck with me. Let's give this 20 seconds. But we have almost, well, thank you everyone for watching. I'm sure you'll all agree with me that it's been incredible to hear from Sandy. As Bati was saying, incredibly inspiring. Wonderful to see his humility and his just happiness about life. It's so refreshing to see someone like that who's just happy and content and happy to share as well. So thank you all so much for watching. And it's a shame Sandy wasn't able to say the last thing he wanted to say. I know what he wanted to say. He's going to talk about Holocaust Memorial Day and the fact that Enfield Council put something on every year, and Sandy's very passionate about that and would love to see more people join. So if people are interested in that, please do contact or email Sandy. I'm sure he'll give you all the information that you need. Other than that, I'm afraid we've lost Sandy, which is such a shame. But wishing you all a fantastic week ahead, a great night. We have some great, exciting things coming up. Wednesday night, we have Rachel DeTame joining us for the women's tea, and lots of other things happening as well. So wishing you all a great night. Thank you for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you all next week. Same time, same place. All the best.